All right. So here I am out here, about to start another project, and I guess this is going to be the year for replacing head gaskets. I've already done 2 this year, and I'm about to start my 3rd one. Let me show you what I got. Well, there she blows. So you can see I already took the hood off. This is a Husqvarna YTH24 V48. So it's a pretty decent mower. I've worked on this one a couple of times in the past. It's just the guys have a pretty large chunk of land that they mow with this. And for a while they were clearing it off, they put it through some crap, right? So I'd replaced the blades, a couple of the spindles already, and I had replaced the fuel pump and the little hose there before, but now I'm going to have to charge up the battery for you before I can show you. But anytime you start it, man, it's just blowing, the white smoke. It's just pretty typical. It's definitely a head gasket. So yeah, this is my 3rd one just within the past 4 to 6 weeks or so. So we'll do another one. This one's a little different. This is the Briggs & Stratton engine, 24 horse V-twin. The last one I did was a Cub Cadet, and it's a big, strong engine, but it was a kind of a pain in the butt to get everything apart. These are very similar, but I think they're easier to work on. But other than that, I am going to clean all this up, hose it down, and get the battery charged up, and we'll get started. Alright, so I'm going to tackle it with some more of this super clean. I'm almost out, but hopefully it's enough to get all this cleaned off. Looks like it. Alright, it's all cleaned off. Let's do the usual. I'm just going to take all the covers off. So I'm going to go ahead and take the carburetor off. I know it had tried to be clean before and it looks like it clogged right back up. I'm just going to go ahead and, while I have everything off anyway, I'm going to take the whole carburetor off and put it in ultrasonic cleaner and really get that sucker clean. Alright, so I've got the carburetor almost all taken apart here. And one thing I noticed, I'd forgotten about this, but here's the fuel solenoid. And when I turned the key on, I couldn't hear it clicking, right? Let me show you what it's doing. If you can see that, it's real slow moving back and forth, right? It is moving, so it's not stuck, but it's just kind of it's real weak. You usually hear it click. So I'm going to put this in the ultrasonic cleaner. I'll finish taking this stuff off, and we'll come back and start taking the valve covers off and all that good stuff. Alright, so the carburetor is being cleaned. Let's go ahead and take the skins off. And the skins, there's a little bitty bolt underneath here, so if this one will come off, there's one here. And then to get this bracket off, you can see how these are bolted onto the head also, one here, and then we can start taking it apart. Take it about, just piece by piece. See the muffler's dropping down, so when I take the head off, I'm going to take this whole pipe with it. Alright, on this side we're ready to take the head off. Man, there's two on there, man. Remember, the aluminum one goes for the intake and the steel one goes for the exhaust. Looks like it's right up here in the corner. All in here was getting out. Yeah, so that's it. We'll do the same thing for the other side. Put them up on the table. We'll check the valves, clean everything up, and get it ready for the new gaskets. Well, here's the other side. You can see where it's been blowing through here. And just all around, really, this thing is shot. So I'll take those over there and let's clean it up and get it ready for new gaskets. Alright, well, here's both pieces, and you can see I need to clean all this stuff off. You can really see where it burned through here. But yeah, you see I'm just going to scrape all this off, get a wire brush, get all this carbon deposits off, and check the seal on the valves. They actually look okay. They're seating down the way they should. Alright, so now it's time to get the old gasket off. Alright, I got both sides cleaned off. It's time to put the gasket on and put the head back on. So let's get in here. Alright, and I'll get a torque wrench and torque those suckers down. Seat them the rest of the way. Alright, I think that's got it. Alright, there we go. And let's get the exhaust. There we go. Right there. Yeah. Always moves it a bit. There we go. A little too tight. Should be. Alright, that's perfect. Let's do the other side. I think that is good to go. Alright, let me do the other side and then we'll start piecing this thing together. Alright, there's the gasket. Alright, that should do it. I'll put the other side on and then we'll get this carburetor piece back together and put it on. Alright, everything's on. Let's get this carburetor on. I've got it all put together. Get your linkages hanging here. And I find it easier to get this one on first. There's that one. Let me put a couple of these on just to hold it in place. Alright, I think that's got everything. Everything's hooked up. I went in and put new spark plugs on it, and you see how burned up those looked. And I changed the oil. When I was checking the oil, I was like, man, it needed it pretty bad. So let me see if I can back this up a little bit. And the battery should be charged enough. If it doesn't hold a charge, then it's probably a bad battery. But I think I've got everything else. Alright, let's see what's gonna happen here. Cross our fingers, huh? Yeah, so doesn't that suck? I have to tear into this again, and what I'm thinking, the first thing I'm going to look at is that crankcase ventilator. It might be all plugged up, and it could be because it was overfilled with oil, and that can happen when you if there's way too much oil and it just soaks out that the ventilator. It's more like a reed valve, you know, and that might be all plugged up. And usually on these V-twins, so you can see the hose coming up here, so you can see that little plate underneath. I need to take that off. There's usually 2, maybe 3, I think maybe just 2 bolts, one here and one here. I guess for easiest access I need to pull the flywheel off. I mean, I could try to get it from over here. That'd be kind of tough. I guess I'll just take the flywheel off, and while I'm at it, you know, check the flywheel key, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but yeah, let's do that. Let's yank the flywheel and see if that crankcase breather is all gummed up. Alright, I'll let my compressor charge up a little bit, and I hear a leak on my hose. Yep, I'll have to fix that. Alright, so you can see down here, so now we have clear access to the crankcase ventilator here. So let me clean some of that junk off. Alright, and there are 3 bolts going in, one here, and one up here on the front. So hopefully I can reach down in there and get to those 2 no problem. And there we go. So there's a little, let's see what I'm doing here. So there's the little breather, the little filter. It's like a steel wool, it feels like. I'll take that out, make sure it's not all clogged up, and then we'll take a look in this and make sure it's not clogged up here or here at the opening. And I hope this is the problem. Alright, so let's take a look at this stuff. See, it's blowing out oil and gas out of there. But it's flowing freely. It's not like it's blocked or anything. Maybe it was just all blocked off of this piece. Well, what to do? I think I'm just gonna spray this down and clean it up and replace this piece. I know I have some steel wool around here somewhere. Alright, I'm just going to cut me a chunk of this off. And it just squeezes right in there, right? So there we go, new little filter, and this is double aught, so it should be pretty breathable. Alright, I can always put this back in here. Did it go that way? Yeah, that looks like it's has a silicone gasket on it instead of a regular gasket. Well, I might have a regular gasket to put on it. If so, I'm going to clean this off and we'll put all this back together. Yes, I had the gasket in my little stash of gaskets over there, so we lucked out. Let's get all this cleaned off and we'll put it back together. Alright, well, we got the vent back in, flywheels back on, got the spark plugs plugged in. I guess it's now time for a big test, huh? Let's see if it's still going to smoke up. It's probably going to smoke up a lot because it looks like there's a lot that built up in the muffler. But we'll see if it, well, let's see what it does. Seems to only run when the choke is on now. Let it run in there for a while. So I was trying to make sure all the stuff in the muffler, you can see it all burning off under here, but check that out. Now I'm seeing some gas drip down. So, but at least at first it was just running with it on choke, and when I'd try to throttle it down it would die. So now I think it's a carburetor problem here. I'm going to check out, find out where it's leaking from. Looks like it's coming from up here. So I've been trying to find the leak, and sometimes I see it dripping here at the bottom of the bowl, but for the most part, because it drips from there, and you can see it puddling up on that bracket arm here, and it actually leans that way. But I'm seeing a lot of drips coming off the cylinder here, and it's dripping down here. You see all that? So it's really hard to tell. Yeah, see, look at all that. And that was coming from right up under here. Alright, so I've been digging down in here. You can see the light. You can see it dripping off the carburetor there. Let me see if I can get that. So there's some drips coming down, but it's also all around here. Look at the very back. Can you see that? Down there around the front of the carb, and then over here on the side on the cylinder. Let's see if I can, like right in here. It's wet there. It's wet on the front of the carburetor. What's up, kitty? Alright, so I'm going to take the carburetor off. Alright, so you can see I got the carburetor hanging here. You can see all the... Oh. Dropping everything. See the gas puddling up over here on this side of the intake. So I think that's where it was dribbling down here on this side. But it also looks like down here at the bottom, down here, and that's where it was dripping off the bowl. So I think we had two different leaks. One down here at the bottom. This one, yeah, not so much. But on this side for sure, it looks like it just looks like, look at this. Looks like the gasket is totally gone. I wonder what happened. So that must be where the leak was coming from. I have to look at previous shots on this video and see if you can see if this side even had a gasket on it to begin with. You can see it on this one. Interesting, huh? Alright, so luckily I had this replacement gasket here for the front of the carburetor. I believe this is the one that fits on this side. We'll find out. And I had these two. They aren't exactly... You see this one has more like that O-ring that goes around it. And that's what was missing over here on this side. But I do have these. We'll see if we can squeeze this gasket on there. It'll be a tight fit when we try to slide it in, but alright, so I think I've got everything put together. You can see I washed all the oil and grease and crap out from under here, so maybe it'll reduce some of the smoking and I'll be able to tell where it's coming from. I took the carburetor off, put new gaskets on the intakes, and all through the carburetor. Luckily I had a spare and I was able to take some pieces off of it, but mainly the gaskets. And I believe I stopped the leak. We're about to find out when I crank this up. Let's see what happens. Oh, and I drained the gas out of the tank. I didn't know how old it was, and sure enough, when I started to drain it out, it looked pretty yellowish. So I went and drained that in, put some fresh gas in, and put a new fuel filter on there. So I think that has got to be it. If all this work it just did on it, if it still starts to smoke up really bad, then we know it's got to be a piston ring. But let's see if we can crank this sucker up. I know everything's wet right now, so I don't know if it's gonna. All right, cross your fingers. Here we go. That muffler's noisy as hell. When I was putting it back on, you can tell everything inside's just rattling. And so that muffler's just about had it. But at least it's not smoking anymore. When I first cranked it up, you can see it burned off. But that's what I was hoping for. Before it was so hard to tell because all this stuff was just, massive oil and crap in there. The clanking noise is coming from the muffler. I still think it sounds a little off. And I'm going to check the gappings here on the magneto. Yeah, this one seems like it's cocked a little bit. Same with this one. So let me re-gap these and see if we get a stronger spark. Okay, so I did a quick adjustment here off camera. I'm trying to speed this video up a little bit, but that's just those two, re-gapped them. They seemed like they were cockeyed. One was close, one would be far. But let's see if that helped at all. I'm not sure if it's gonna. Well, I'd say that helped a little bit. Alright, well, we got it running finally. So that was a bear. It sure did take quite a bit. I guess it was just multiple problems when that happens. When you start diagnosing everything, you fix one problem and you find out that there's still something else wrong. You just keep on going and keep on going. Because we did quite a bit, but I think the main culprits of why this thing just got out of whack, there was way too much oil. So it started to burn oil a lot, and it looks like it overheated. This thing was just caked full of crap and mud and everything, and I think they probably overworked it a little bit. They do have a pretty large piece of property that they try to cut this with. So the combination of the two, and who knows, maybe it ran out of oil at one point and they ran it hot that way, and then when the guy added more oil, he just put way too much again, or way too much in there. But but also looks like, to me, it looks like it had been worked on before. All the gaskets I saw in there, it was missing one on the intake. All the valve gaskets, everything was, and even some on the crankcase ventilator, it was silicon gasket. And usually I see the regular gaskets on there coming out of the factory. I don't see that silicon, you know, the black silicon gasket and all that stuff, or even the gray stuff. So who knows, maybe it was worked on before. But so that's what it ended up, and I think that exhaust, the crankcase exhaust, was all clogged up because of all the oil. Maybe not as bad as I was thinking, but it was definitely clogged. So what all did we fix? Head gaskets, reset the valves, new valve cover gaskets. We did the crankcase ventilator, the carburetor, we cleaned it out, put new gaskets all the way around on the intakes, and here on the body of the carburetor, put a new fuel solenoid valve on it. The other one is, it would move real slow. It sounded like it was mushy or something in there. Maybe some oil got in there. And cleaned out the muffler to get rid of all that residue that was in there. But I think that is it. That was, oh, and then drained the gas and put new gas filter and put new oil in. Drained all the old black, just a ton of gas was in it. And I think that was it. Yeah, so that one was kind of tough. It was, like I said, just you fix one problem and find others. So, but hopefully this is going to be running good for him now, and I'll just tell him to keep his eye on it and don't overfill the oil. But I guess that is it for this video. So once again, thanks for subscribing, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and watch for my next video.